Hi everyone and welcome, my name is Dora and this is my 7th update to my Pan That palette of 2025. I'm working on the Black Cherry palette by Barry M. I'll also be updating my BYOP for this year in this update, as well as my Pan That palette Leftover. I've got a really exciting update today, lots of changes. Before we get into it, please make sure you check out my description box below. I'm linking to Amber F, who is the creator of Pan That palette. There are also Jessica and Dana, who came up with the BYOP Build Your Own Palette concept. And then there's a link to Taru, who does Pan That palette Leftovers, which, you know, as the name suggests, you're panning Pan That palettes that you haven't finished yet from previous years. I'm now going to go ahead and show you the slideshow of what my palette has been looking like since the start of the year. I had two different goals this past month. I wanted to focus on Ripen, the top left-hand corner shadow, and I also wanted to focus on the center shadow. And Sour, I frankened not too long ago. Then I also wanted to do a no pan left behind on this palette, but in terms of using each of the shadows on my lid. And here's what my palette is looking like today. Lots of changes, as you can see. So I went ahead and repressed actually all of the 6 top shadows. Yeah, I started off with the ones that were like, you know, ready to be repressed, and then I just got super carried away and carried on repressing the other ones as well, because I wanted to be able to swatch them out better, to test them out, to see if I could mix them maybe with other shadows in my collection, to come up with different color combinations. So that's why I went ahead and did that. But also I managed to finish 2 shadows, so I'm so happy. My first finished empty shadows this year, and actually in a really long time. I'm so happy and so motivated, and now I really feel like maybe I can do it. I've also been able to re-hit pan in 2 of the shadows, Glacé and Bakewell, and the reason why this is so, you know, up there in the corner, and yeah, it is like side pan or corner pan, is because I wanted to work on that bit rather than aiming for the center, because I still would like to continue to apply this as a topper shadow using my fingers. So instead of, I feel that that gives me a better surface area to work with. So now I'm trying to work on this little corner here. Maybe there's like a mini pan in there. It looks a little bit like that in the camera. Yeah, I think so. Okay. But all right, let's go through the shadows one by one though. And what I'm also gonna do is I will let you know the weight difference compared to last month and also compared to the intro. Okay, so kicking off with Ripen, my first empty. I used this 16 more times since my previous update, and that was just 42 uses in total from the intro to finish this shadow. That seems like such a low number to me, but you know, I'm not complaining. These are very old shadows, they're very crumbly, very powdery, and the shimmers are just super easy to go through. So yeah, 42. Happy with that. Glacé I used 38 times since my last update, and that is because, yeah, we've had like several back-to-back heat waves, and that means in the hotter weather I often end up doing a morning makeup look, and then come the afternoon I just want to wash it all off and start again for the evening. 38 times, always using it in my inner corner, sometimes as a topper shadow as well, but then I still only count 1 use. I also sometimes put it as a brow bone highlight, and I did that today actually. So that's a total of 183 uses in this shadow since the intro. Cherry Tart I've used 8 times since my last update, and that's 85 uses in total. Bakewell I've used 10 times and 75 in total. With Sour I've had 17 uses on here for a total of 25 since it was franken, but an actual total of 67 uses in order to finish this shadow. Obviously I added a little bit more product in. Ripen in comparison was about 20 uses less, but yeah, I think that makes about sense. Wild I only used 3 times, 23 uses in total. Juiced I used 9 times, 51 uses in total. Bitter 13 uses, and that's 39 in total. and Poison 4 uses and 69 total uses. I would like to continue with that goal of doing a no pan left behind in terms of using each shadow as a lid shade. I managed to do that for this update. I think it was great because that's the way that you're really going to see progress in comparison to only using it like, say, you know, in the outer corner on my lower lash line. Of course, using it on the lids, definitely more progress. So I would like to continue with that goal. That serves me quite well, and it's not too much pressure in terms of hitting a certain amount of uses. I would like to make Wild my focus shadow. I think it works really well with the shadow that I'm working on in my ABH Riviera palette right now for Pan That Palette in Order, a mustard yellow matte shadow. Yep. I don't know if I can finish it by the next update, but I'm gonna give it a go. And then finally, I'd like to re-hit Pan in both Cherry Tart and Wild. But yeah, Wild is a focus shadow anyway, but I would like to have Pan in there again. And that's that. Let's move on to my Build Your Own palette. So here's my BYOP. I've got 5 shadows in there. 2 are complexion products, at least for me, even though one is a Kiko single eyeshadow. And then there are 3 single franken shadows in there at the bottom that I switch out at these updates. I would like to just cycle through all of my franken singles to determine which of them would I like to continue to use and hold on to, and which of them would I like to declutter, and that basically means I would just re-franken them and have lots more fun with them that way. Right. So I'm going to show you what my palette looks like today because it does look different. I decided to repress the Kiko single. I'm so glad I did that. So I used the other pan, the spare one. So this is a Sizzly Depotted palette, both of those. And what that really helped with is, number one, again, I've got a larger surface area to work with now, which works better for applying it as a blush. But also it just helped me to just, sounds so cliched, but just fall in love with this shadow. And I have been using it finally on my eyelids quite a few times. It's such a pretty shimmery shadow with like a flip on there as well. I just really enjoy it. So yeah, if it helps me to go through it faster, I'm here for it. Even though this is like a low-key project for me, but yeah, of course I'd still like to finish it. I tried to finish it last year and you know, it's still here. Same as this one. So this is a franken between a Sizzly, the original one that was in the packaging that I depotted in a video, and some Bare Minerals loose pigments. I'm really only as of this month, and I know one of you like said it in the comments of my previous video as well, that you could see that it was getting a lot flatter in there. Now I can really see that there's just not an awful lot left. Maybe at some point I would repress this and then, you know, that might help things a little bit as well if I'm able to pick up more product that way. I would like to go through the uses though. So the Kiko I used 20 times this past month for a total of 104 uses. These numbers are starting to feel quite good now that I've hit the 100 mark. And then the franken I used 22 times for a total of 106 uses. So this one has overtaken the other one. They were on par last time. And then these bottom 3 here, I'm going to just quickly swatch them out for you and give you my verdict in terms of which of them would I like to keep and which of them would I like to pass on, well, declutter, re-franken. I only used every single one of them once, but I did play around with them. You know, I had a little swatch party, as I mentioned before, and that really helped me with, you know, assessing the quality of the formula of these. Okay, so we are actually there this way around. Let me hold it like this. So these are the corresponding swatches. I was really happy with the formula of this one, even this one here. So this is just a really nice soft topper type of shadow. I would be able to use this with my finger without running the risk of having hard pan. This one looked really nice in the outer corner with a more gold sort of bronzy look all over the lid. Really, really enjoyed that. And then this last shadow here, I noticed when I was swatching it out that it was getting hard pan, and the color is nice. I'm actually wearing it on my lids today. I'm not mad at it, but because the quality isn't so great, and how many neutral shimmers have I got in my collection? I don't need to hold on to this one, so I'd like to give this one up for re-frankening. So these two are going to be staying in my collection. They're loves, and this one is a less loved one, a maybe, so therefore a maybe is a no. And now I would like to show you the 3 that I have selected to roll into this project for the next month. And one of them is a brand new franken. You'll see with my Pan That Palette leftover update that I did do some frankening again, and I ended up with 2 identical shadows. I think are so pretty. So I've got a backup of this, and it's this shimmery purple shadow. This looks so nice. I would just like to play around with that. I think it's a really nice shadow. I hope the quality of the formula will, you know, hold up, but we'll see. And then second, I'm bringing in another neutral type of shimmer shadow. Again, a franken, of course. And let me swatch that out for you. I'm not too impressed with the formula on this one. I mean, actually it's not bad, but it doesn't feel as buttery as the purple one does. But it's a nice tone. So yeah, excited to try this one out because none of these franken shadows have ever been used up until they're, you know, in this BYOP project. And then finally there's another dark sort of, you know, cool tone. What is it? Like a blue-gray gunmetal perhaps? I would like to try out here as well. So here's my new BYOP. I'm really excited to try this one out. Specifically, I'm excited about using the purple. I will report back at the next update and let you know how it's all going. And here's my leftover Pan That palette. So if you don't know this, I was panning this palette both in 2023 and in 2024, and it's still here. Again, this is a really low-key project for me. I just enjoy it. Bear in mind, there are a lot of franken shadows here. And it's interesting to me that even though I do have free reign and there are 7 shadows left in here, it's only the same 4 ever that I'm touching. Although I did franken one of the shadows. Remember the purple shadow from my BYOP where I've got 2, and I still had a little bit of shadow left over, so I went ahead and mixed it into the rest of what was in Passion here, which was already a franken at that point, and created another franken. And I really like this shadow. I think it's going to come in handy when I'm done with the shimmers in my main Pan That palette. And it's just a beautiful, slightly cool leaning, taupey type of shimmer shadow that I really, really enjoy. It really reminds me of the shade Amethyst for the Laura Mercier Caviar Sticks. Yeah, I don't know why I stumbled across those words. Caviar Stick. There you go. Heat is a really messy franken, but it works so well on my brows. Wearing it today, I have done that 9 times. Some of those uses I also wore it as an outer corner shadow. It works really well. So 9 uses, and that's 13 uses in total. Passion I've used twice, and that's 5 uses in total, although I probably should reset that to 2 uses because it has been 2 uses since I frankened it. So yeah, maybe I need to change that. So a total of 2 uses in this newly franken shadow. I ignored Flames and Blazing. They may look a little bit different, but that's only, again, swatch party. And then Flames, this franken here, I used once for a total of 3 uses. I think this might be another re-franken type of candidate. I didn't use All or Nothing, and then the Dark Side, another franken. I have got 1 use on here as well since the last update, and that's 6 uses in total. I don't really want to put any specific goals on this palette either, similar to my BYOP, you know, it's just, yeah, with that one, I just want to use the shadows at least once to make a decision, and here is just something helpful for me to, you know, a good, like, sort of loyal companion palette, and I can play around with it and franken stuff if I want to. I'm very excited. I would love to be able to have more empties for you in my next update in the Barry M. Maybe I can do it with Wild. That would be so amazing. But yeah, I'm definitely motivated because, you know, these are all represses now, so they're a lot thinner now. There's a lot less product in there. They had like decent sized pans in there before. And yeah, I frankened a chunk of Wild, but into Sour, so that's done, you know, that's nice. I don't think I would like to franken anything in here. No. I've learned my lesson. I think I could have had an empty in Sour much sooner had I not frankened it. And yeah, I understand I was getting bored of it, but if that happens, you know, I can just move on to a different look, a different shadow, pause that one for a little bit and then come back to it, because guess what? Craving the purples again. All right, so no Frankens in here, but I can't promise I won't Franken anything in the other palettes. All right. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. I really hope you subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I also hope you have a lovely rest of your day or night, wherever you are. And I'm sending you so much love. Take care. Bye.